I'm expecting this weather to sour on us here really any minute. We had some pretty gusty wind yesterday, really from the night previously through yesterday through to last night. It's calmed down this morning. I was up by about 6 out here, and the wind was virtually gone for a little bit, but we have a high wind advisory in effect here that goes into effect this afternoon until about 10 or 11 o'clock this evening. So really worried. I'm not worried. We're being precautious. We're getting everything tied down. You know, if it was just a home that's built and it's established up to, you know, all of the wind specifications, it's really not a big deal. But we have loose material. We've got sheets of steel. We've got a lot of stuff. I mean, the RV, the canopies, all kinds of stuff that can get blown around and destroyed quite easily. So not only that, but we have all of the trees. So we think all the trees that were at risk for falling in a windstorm, we think we got those cut down. But who knows? This is the first time we've been up here with this kind of wind speeds and the risk of the high wind warnings. But anyway, I want to show you something that I thought was going to be a brilliant move, and it ended up becoming disastrous. So Saturday we were unloading all of the material off the trailer. We got everything except for the post, just because they're better to stay up there and stay covered while it was raining. But we got all the steel. You can see here, this is all the wall steel. These whole sheets are all off. We got them down on the ground. Looks great. I don't even remember how many there are there. We got all of the, I don't know if you could see it here, but we got all the trim up on top of the Connex. So we used the forklift. We got all that put up there. We got all of our lumber down. So those are all, those 2x6s are for the wall girts. We've got the 2x8s and the 2x10s are gonna be for some of the headers and the truss carriers. We've got all of our 2x4s over here, where the 2x4s are gonna be for the roof purlins. And then we've got the green boards, which will go around the perimeter of the posts at the bottom. Those are the 2x8s right there in the front. And then we got the roof steel unloaded as well. And this is where I thought I was using big brain. And we were really careful as we were unloading them. We set them up on sawhorses. We wanted to line them up because I was thinking that we could accelerate the installation if we pre-drilled all the holes for where we're gonna put screws. So I thought, let's just do this once. If we're gonna move them off the trailer, let's line them up while we're doing it. It's taken some more time, but we'll get it back by you know, already having pre-drilled holes so that we can have, you know, nice linear screw lines on the roof. But either the sawhorses just completely buckled from the weight, which is probably what happened, or the wind, or the combination of the two. But we've lost the pile of roofing off the hill here. So from the winds 2 nights ago, and then just, I think, a bad idea of not putting enough sawhorses underneath it to support the weight. We had a little bit of an accident here. But the fortunate thing is I mean, maybe there's a few scratches down there. I don't see anything that's bent. So it's just in a weird position sitting right here off the side of the hill. But I got some sandbags. We anchored it down so that if the wind comes, we don't have to, well, hopefully it doesn't blow away or blow down the hill. And then I also put a tie around it too, just to keep that whole stack together. We got those 2 loose ones down there, but they seem like they're kind of in a good position where they're not going anywhere. The wind wasn't really moving them much. So I don't know, it's unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. You know, worst case, we have to, you know, buy a few more pieces, which, you know, isn't ideal, but it could have been a lot worse for sure. But I've got a few ties. I'm gonna tie down this steel because I don't want the wind to catch it and to blow it away. I don't think the wood's gonna go anywhere. I think we might lose some of these tarps. Not a big deal. We'll find them and get them back. Yeah, and then I think just the laser up on the tripod. When the wind starts, I'm gonna have to take that down for sure because that's gonna topple. But anyway, I wanted to do that really quickly because the wind's starting to pick up a little bit. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to get through the detailed adjustments for the depth of each of these brackets. I'm gonna try and get to it right now because that'll help me kind of finalize some plans that I need to do. And I can do it while it's rainy and windy later on. But anyway, that's where we're at. And once we get through this windstorm, we've got all these measurements done, I think we're gonna get to some of the exciting parts where we'll get some posts laid out on the ground, start laying out some walls. And once the concrete's ready for us to drive on it, we'll be raising them up. Okay, getting back to work here. Let me show you what I did. I just wrote some marks here. You could see this on the actual grade stick here. We've got some pretty big, well, it's only showing us 1/4 inch marks. So what I did is I took the fine tip of a marker and I went through and I just put, each of those dots represents a 1/16 of an inch interval. So that first dot that you see up there with right next to the 0, that's really going to be the first 16th. So I'm going to slide this thing down so that the bottom of the receiver is just kind of covering and right in line with that first dot. And we're just going to go down a 16th at a time, and I'll just do a lap around and I'll see if I can, if I get any of them to be lined up at that point. And then I'll note that it's 1/16th. And then I'll go to the next dot there on the right, which is over here. And we'll subtract 1/8. And then we'll come to this one and we'll subtract 3/16, and then so on and so on. There's a 1/4 of an inch. So we'll just keep doing that all the way through until I've got a mark on every single one of the brackets that says what kind of adjustment we need to make on the post for that position. Okay, all wrapped up there. It wasn't too bad at all. I do want to correct something that I said though. So on the grade stick, I was putting those marks indicating every 1/16 of an inch. When I was starting to go around, even just how I was kind of like wobbling a little bit, even though I was trying to hold that bubble in the center of the circle, it still wasn't precise enough to identify the difference between, say, a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch, because I would go back around and I'd get that line right in the middle doing both. So I just went to 1/8. So I found my starting point, which was 0 or scratch. Then I subtracted 1/8, had a few of those, subtracted 1/4, a lot of those, subtracted 3/8, had a couple more of those, and then lastly, 1/2 an inch on, I think 2 or 3 of them. So everything is within 1/2 an inch of variation from the highest bracket to the lowest bracket, which isn't too bad. But the reason why we're doing this is we don't want 1/2 inch of variation of the wall girts. We don't want a 1/2 inch of variation of the trusses. It's just going to make the building not be square and plumb as we start moving ahead and progressing to the next few steps. So now that I have that all figured out, I'm going to go around and kind of just transcribe all of those marks down. I'm going to finalize my plans for the story pole. So this is a best practice in construction, whether you're doing a stick frame or a post frame or a pole barn like this. But the story pole is really just a standard board that we're going to use. I'm going to take one of my 2x4x20s over there, and I'm going to use that, and I'm going to put the marks on that pole everywhere we're going to have a wall girt going across. I'm going to put everywhere we have the rough opening for the small garage door and for the large garage door. We're going to put the marks for where the deck for the balcony, and then where the inside floor joist will be. We're going to put the rough opening elevation for the doors, both on the first and the second floor. And we'll use that same mark for all of the windows so that the tops of the windows are in line with all the tops of the doors. And so by having that, we're going to use a consistent pole or a source to be able to make sure that all of those lines are being transcribed to each of the poles in the exact same way. So once I've got that story pole set up, I'll show some video of it. But I'm going through the math on the wall girts because we want those to be spaced every 2 feet. But there are some variations and nuance to it. It doesn't equal exactly 2 feet as it goes all the way up. So I got to figure out exactly how I want to slide that and adjust it up or down from there. But once we've got that, then we're ready to start unloading the posts, and we'll transcribe all of the marks from the story pole onto the posts themselves. After we make our like fractional adjustments on the cut, so that we've got the top of all the posts being perfectly plain. All right, I'm gonna go. I gotta go inside and do some work on the computer for this, and we'll be back out if the weather's permitting, and we can start getting the story pole prepped. All right, I'm just gonna do it. This weather's too great to not work on this pole barn at all. So I don't know what it is, but the windstorm that came in a couple nights ago, I mean, it was gusting, probably 40-50 mile an hour gusts, sustained wind, 15-20 miles an hour, and then it just stopped. And it's calm and warm. I mean, it's beautiful weather. This is great working weather. If every day were like this, the pole barn would be done already. Maybe not, but it'd be nice to work in this weather every day. But I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna bust open these posts. We'll get them out there on the sawhorses and start marking them up and laying it out. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. Pin snips. There we go. All right, that was fun. That was kind of like the ribbon cutting ceremony for these posts. I've been anxious to get at these now for a couple of months, but anyway, they're here. I just cut the ties. I can show you here with this kind of the different sizes that we have, and let me explain them really quickly. So underneath here, there's 3 layers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 24 of these size posts underneath here, and then there's 2 right here, so that's 26 in total. These are gonna be the ones that are on the corners and also line the walls, so the short wall sides. They're 20 feet in length, just shy of 20 feet, and we're gonna be doing 18-foot tall walls. So once we make all of the differential adjustments for the brackets, we're going to be left with we're actually gonna cut these approximately to 18 feet. We're gonna add 9 inches for the heel, and we're actually gonna raise the whole structure up by about 5.5 inches. So we're gonna be right around 19 feet, 2.5 inches, and then it'll adjust with the differential depending on which brackets are sitting up higher than the others. But these longer posts that we have here, you can see we've got 4 of these really long ones here, and then 4 of these medium-sized ones. Those will be on the gable ends. So these ones right here will be the 2 that are, if you've got the slope of the roof like this, you've got the short ones on the corners, then you come in, you have to have the taller post. So that's what these 22 footers are for. And then finally, in the middle, you've got the peak or the apex of the gable, and that's what these 24 footers are for. So there'll be 2 on this side and then 2 on the back side for the long ones, and then the middle-sized ones, again, same, 2 here and then 2 in the back. So that's kind of how these are all ordered and designed in the way we have them in these various lengths. I still need to make the story pole, so I'm gonna get a few of these off the truck, fill up the sawhorses, and then get going on that story pole. But the weather was too good to not get started on these poles, so I figured I might as well. And I probably just guaranteed that the wind's gonna pick up and it's gonna start raining in a few minutes, but that's all right. All right, I'm inside here. I've been working on the all of the different measurements, all of the different positions of the markings that we're going to put on our story pole. So I've got my final copy here. Let me just show it to you, and I'll kind of walk you through what I've been doing. So here we go. Here's the final plan. So let me back out a little bit so you can see the whole thing. So imagine you've got, you know, the bottom down here of the post, or the story pole in this case, and then you've got, you know, the very top of the post is going to be all the way up here. On this left-hand side, you've got the placement of all of the girts, and we've got the grade board down here at the bottom, which is going to be a 2x8. Then all of the girts going up here is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, and those are all going to be 2x6s. And at the very top, we've got the 2x10, I believe, the truss carrier. Again, so that's 9¼ inches tall, so that's going to sit there. And then above the truss carrier, we've got these posts are going to sit another 9 inches above that, and that's going to just give something to attach the trusses to. So those are, I think, pretty basic. The only adjustment I really made to this is that we're raising the building by 5½ inches. So normally we'd have the bottom of the steel be right down here at grade, at the bottom of the grade board, or somewhere close to that. And because we've got a wainscot, we're going to go up 48 inches. But you can see on this, if we didn't set the bottom of that wainscot trim, we'd be completely missing, you know, the that wall girt right there. So with everything set up by 5½ inches, now we're going to nail right into the middle of that wall girt. Everything's now 24 inches on center, so that the screw patterns are going to look nice and evenly spaced on the steel. And I think we got ourselves a good plan there, at least for the left side. And then on the right side, we've got all of the different, I guess, variations or nuances where we're going to want to put some marks on the post where we have something that's creating some sort of an opening or deviation in the wall. So the first thing that we come to is the header for any doors and windows on the first floor. So the rough opening size for a door is going to be up to 81¾ inch. So that'll be the bottom mark, and then we'll do a 2x6s for the headers. Again, these aren't weight-bearing headers. These are just kind of framing out the rough opening of, you know, in this case it'd be a door. And then we would have all of our, you know, left and right door jamb rough openings there as well. But then we're going to put the windows at the same elevation, at least the top of the windows in line with the top of the door. So this is going to be door and window headers wherever that applies. I don't even know where we're putting windows, to be honest, in all the places yet, at least in the shop. So I might just put that marking down on all the posts just so we've got them in case we ever want to take down some steel and add some windows later on. And then we move up here to the next thing, which is right here. And this is the small garage. So it's a double header. So the rough opening, it is 8 feet tall, right? 8 times 12 is 96. 8 feet tall by 9 feet wide. And the rough opening will actually be a ½ inch shorter. And then we're just going to do double 2x6s on top of it for the header. Now on the outside, we're only going to have the single, but on the inside, we're going to do the double. That way we've got a little bit more to be able to attach the track for the garage door to. So that's the reason for the double. I'm going to mark double on both sides, but we're only going to be putting the double on the inside, I believe. We could have done a 2x12 in this case, but I just we didn't get that with our lumber package. So I'm going to have to get some supplemental 2x6s, and that'll work just fine for us. All right, we keep moving up. So those are the two headers there. Then we go up to the next thing, which is the floor and deck joist. So this is going to be at 108 inches, which is exactly 9 feet. So downstairs we'll have a 9-foot ceiling. That's going to be the bottom of, or at least the marking point where we do the floor joists. That's going to be framed up in 2x8 based on where we're having the supporting walls. The floor span tables show that we're going to be fine with using 2x8s instead of some sort of a larger dimensional lumber for that. So we'll be in good shape with that. We'll use the same thing for the deck. That's only going to span 10 feet. So we're going to be just fine with that. And then we keep coming up, and we get up here to 167.5 inches, and that's going to be the bottom of the rough opening here for the large garage doors, which are on the front. We'll do the same thing here. We'll double header on the inside, single header on the outside, and that's so we've just got enough meat to be able to attach all of the railings for the door to. And then the last thing is going to be on the second floor. We're going to have our header locations, or the top of door, top of window marks. For any doors, we'll have probably a sliding door, I think, out to the deck. We'll have windows off the apartment, and then I think what we're probably going to do is just do some high-level windows in the shop to kind of just get some natural light in. So we would set the height of those to that 197 mark. So that's pretty much it. So I'm going to take all of these marks, and I'm going to put some notes. I'm going to measure it out. We're going to put it onto our story pole, and then we'll have something that we can use to just transcribe all of these measurements consistently from the story pole to all of the posts. And what we'll actually end up doing is I'm going to do the reverse measurements here from the top, because remember, some of these we're going to actually shorten the post on. So we'll be taking reverse measurements down from the top, so that once we know that everything on the top is perfectly level across all the posts, then we'll want to make sure that everything is set even relative to that. At least on this side. This side we'll have to probably go off of grade, because we've got our like the headers, the rough openings for the doors and everything. We'll want that relative to the actual grade of the concrete. But these we want to all be the same relative to the level top of posts. Sorry, that was a little lengthy, but this is kind of the work and the math that I've been doing to go through and set this up so that we've got ourselves a good story pole, and it'll make for getting all of the prep work done on all the posts easier. And then once we've got all these marks, we know exactly where to lay our wall girts to intersect, and it should speed up the process of building the walls.